Hi everyone, I hope you're well. It's me again, Sonal Dave, your award-winning public speaking expert, Celebrant and Toastmaster. This is another one in the series of interviews that I'm doing all about neurodiverse conditions, the neurodiverse community, and the neurodivergent mind. And I've had a wonderful stream of individuals who've come through prepared to share who they are, what they do, as well as the neurodiverse conditions that they have to deal with on a daily basis, as well as a little bit about journaling, which goes alongside the journal that I have launched. So I'd love to give a round of applause and invite Elizabeth to come and join me. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here with me. And for those of you who don't know who you are and what you do, please take a moment to share.
Super. So I am a well-being coach and I also am a private English teacher. Sometimes I can blend the two services, and so it's sort of that combination of well-being and English for those people who have emigrated to an English-speaking country and they really want to hone their craft of speaking English. But my real passion that has developed over the sort of last 5+ years has been around well-being and supporting people to be able to address the imbalances in their life, address the overwhelm in a way that's realistic and manageable alongside the typical commitments that we in our busy working lives, family lives, and all of the different elements that can capture us and make us feel a little bit restricted. It's sort of how to look at it from another angle and think about incorporating well-being strategies and habits into our lives. So that's a little bit of what I do.
And is that for adults or is it for young children?
You know what? I do it with all ages. So I've got a family who are waiting to work with me at the moment, and they have a 6-year-old. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I've worked with people who are in their 50s and 60s and beyond. So I'm sort of someone I've just got that calm, steady space that I can provide people, along with the sort of positive, upbeat vibe where appropriate, to create a space that's flexible and adapts for whoever needs the support.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And in terms of kind of neurodiversity, neurodiverse conditions, where do you fit in? Are you somebody who has one, knows somebody who does, looks after somebody? Where do you fit into this?
So the biggest sort of way that I fit in is that I grew up as a young carer. So I have two siblings now who both have neurodiverse like needs and conditions, particularly around anxiety, autism, and ADHD, some sort of sensory sensitivities as well. My brother was the first one who came on the scene, and he's 8 years younger than me. So it was a bit of a challenge once we realized that he did have the additional um yeah, just those additional needs that we started discovering once he was just over 2. But even before that, my mum has said that she struggled, or she realized that he was not hitting milestones in the way that her first 3 children did. And she started sort of realizing that there were potentially some additional needs from there. And actually that's when we also had to move back from Nepal, which is where we grew up until I was 10 when we moved back. And it was a big part of that move was to make sure that he had the support that he could access in England rather than in Nepal. Um,
And so tell me, Elizabeth,
my little
what was
visitor.
oops, I think have I are you still there? Yep, you're still
Yep,
there.
I can
Carry
hear
on.
you.
Carry on. No, so I was gonna say, so as a carer, um, I'm trying to understand that from a kind of a physical, mental, spiritual, kind of holistic. view of that. What does that feel like?
Sometimes, like, there's not much space for me in a way, because I was reflecting on it a little bit more, and here and there you get these moments where you remember the the busyness and the overwhelm that we would experience as a family sometimes. So some of the simple family routines that you might put in place when you've got a more sort of neurotypical type of family, it's a completely different ball game to set those routines. So transitioning from playtime to meal times to bedtime, or having baths and showers, and we would all sort of sometimes feel like all hands were on deck, so to speak, to help make it as smooth a transition as possible. My brother was very obsessed with lining up cars. Around the house, just massive lines of them from one room through to hallway into another room. And if anyone so much as like tapped it out of place, he'd have a full blown, well, cliche word, meltdown, wouldn't he? He'd have a full blown meltdown. And sometimes when we were a little bit older, we would be looking after him for a couple of hours or a few hours. So then that would be a lot a lot of responsibility. We could handle it, but the emotional pressure of trying to almost be the parents, because we couldn't just treat him like a sibling. We'd have to
Mm,
almost step into parent or auntie sort of shoes. And that was quite a lot sometimes, but we got through it. And
mm,
they linked us as well locally to Young Carers Support Service, so we would be able to go for an evening of respite once a week or once a fortnight, and it would just feel fun to be able to play and have snacks on the table and just just let our hair down as children.
uh, it's funny, you laugh about it, but, just thinking about you in those shoes at that time,
Mm.
almost being the adult in the room and having to put on the persona of an adult and the shoes of an adult and the brain of an adult. Um, yeah, you'd need time out, doing that still. I mean, you were young. It's not like you were an adult yourself at the time. So just that pressure must have been quite intense. So yeah, so having a night off with a movie and some popcorn and some snacks must have been wonderful to kind of look forward to as such. Knowing that when you went back home, it was back into the shoes of an adult, right?
Yeah, yeah. Back in I mean, what we also didn't we realized later on is that my mum had probably been going years with undiagnosed depression, and some anxieties and things as well around that. So we also had a lot of emotional tension in the house that was a combination of caring for our brother and as a family, but also the emotions that came with my mum's sort of needs that we've only recently only discovered more over the last sort of 10 years. So walking on eggshells at certain times was very normal, and sort of bottling up our emotions and our needs as well sometimes, because it didn't feel like they were important as other people's needs. So I think that's as well why it sort of spilled over into my work now. It's all about giving people that space to to make themselves a priority, and to be heard, and to be in a safe environment where you can say anything and everything, and there's no eggshells to out. And so I think from my experience, it's sort of realizing how many more people are there in that sort of situation who don't have an outlet, and don't have that safe space. So the more we realize that there are people out there who can create it for those in need, the better, really.
So tell me, what support can a carer get if they're looking after somebody, be it an adult or a child who has a neurodiverse condition? Because there's probably people watching now and people will be watching later going, is there support? Who do I speak to? Do I speak to my
Mm.
neighbour? Do I speak to the bus driver? Do I speak to the council? Who? is there support, and where would you go to sort of start a process?
If you even just look up young carers UK, so you can just type that into Google, young carers UK, there, I'm pretty sure there's a way to then filter it to your borough and your area onto a website that is there, and then you would then get the option to click through to weekends away for respite or a regular meetup. Um, and there's sometimes, so what we had was actually almost like a youth centre. There was a football zone where people would just be kicking balls. There'd be sort of punch bags. There'd be table football. Yeah, there was a lot of tension to be let out. And we just felt really lucky that it was so accessible, because we used to have to do a lot of walking as well. We'd have to walk to different places because of limited resources in terms of time and money, I guess, as well. And so we would walk about 20 minutes to this place a lot of the time, and but at other times it moved. So sometimes they might have a circuit of different youth type centres or community centres that are accessible. Um, I know I'm talking more about the young carer side of things, which I think is extremely important. There are also respite sort of opportunities for carers too, and the council would have some that be listed, and there would also be the website. I'm quite happy to just double check and put it on the comments underneath on your page, Sonal, as well. If you'd like, I can find a couple of links.
Yeah, that would be great, just so that people can, if they would need or want, or even want to share to somebody they know who would benefit from those, that would be absolutely wonderful. So, from your experience and from what you've kind of heard about society, why do you think, in society, people who have neurodiverse conditions or care for somebody or a parent of somebody with a neurodiverse condition still feel like it's a taboo subject and will kind of hide behind the front door?
Mm. Why do I think that? I think I think there's limited full comprehension of what a lifestyle is like when you're juggling neurodiverse needs within the family. I think it's sort of like this mysterious something that people are like, oh yeah, they, one of their children has autism, so I hear screaming from that house sometimes, or something like that. Because there's the reason why I say that is because it's come up in some of my local networks, about a family saying, someone complaining, and then a family going, "One of my children has got autism," and they have to scream sometimes. It's the way that they communicate or they let out their tension, and I think there's sort of this still uncertainty around what is normal within neurodiversity, and that the challenge is there is not really a normal as well. So it's hard to capture a clear sense of understanding, which then I think makes people feel concerned to say that they understand it, but also concerned around trusting that people understand. So there's the two sides, isn't there? Who are trying to get in and be supportive, but they don't quite understand it, and those who need the support and have to almost let down some walls and try to trust just to close the door and to keep ourselves to ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting what you say about the norm, because even if you're neurotypical, what is the norm?
Mm,
Because we're all so unique and individual in our own ways. So, if you have a neurodiverse condition, what is the norm? If you have a disability, what is the norm? It's quite a strange word in itself, and I think we probably need to stop using it, because there is no such thing as, oh, this is normal. Well, hold on,
mm,
what's normal? So I think it's quite an interesting concept to think about, because there's, for some. people who I've interviewed, and they've said initially it was about the shame and the embarrassment, because if they did open the front door and take their child or adult child out, something might trigger a reaction or a behavior, and then that would be like, oh look, it's that child again, or it's that adult again, and then suddenly they sort of be, like they've got a little stamp on them now of, oh, that's that child and that's how that person's going to behave, when actually what we need is a bit more awareness and understanding, with a sprinkling of education in there as well, would be just brilliant.
And actually, I want to share a little bit about part of my current life, which is linking to my sister. My family adopted another child, so I'm now one of five. And so my little sister is 11 years old, and so she came into our family through fostering and then adoption. Um, and she has got a very limited filter of what she cares about. She doesn't, if she wants to shriek the highest pitch sound possible, because she's a bit miffed that there's butter here. We were at a party and there was butter on sweet corn, and she then just screamed around the place because there was butter on the sweet corn, and she was really irritated because she wanted it butter free. Um, but when you're at a sort of more social environment, the screaming, the tapping, she sadly, and I do struggle with this. She can be quite aggressive towards my dad, and sometimes for us watching it and trying to be calm and supportive of the environment and accept her, but also desperately wanting dad to be respected and to be treated kindly. um, it's it's been quite difficult to watch, but then when you're in public as well, even beyond, she won't filter that, she will continue to do it. um, so what my parents have done, building the habit from my brother, who's now 25 years old, is basically live and let live. We're going to do our thing, stare if you want. If we're not going to hide behind closed doors, we're going to just get on with our lives and go out and about, go to fairs or go to community gatherings. My mum and my brother, they run and sometimes compete with their athletics, and so often they'll be ending up at sort of athletics competitions. But which is quite nice in a way, though, because there are some that are really directed towards being accepting of people with neurodiverse conditions. So you get the whole a whole mixture of different families there, which is so wonderful, just to feel connected and understood, and like all of the differences are normal. It's fine. It's just humans in all our glory, just living together and doing some running. So I quite enjoy that side of things too, and just trying to build up that barrier in a way of, I don't care about those eyes looking at me from across the room, because they have no power, no value in my life, to be honest. They have got no right to impact my balance and my emotions right now, and I'm not going to give them that right either, because I care about who's in front of me and the experience that we're having together. So it's kind of learning and practicing that.
Yeah, and it's so lovely hearing you say that, because I think we all need to be a bit more like that. That this is us, this is how we live, this is how we talk, this is what we look like, this is what we do. And if you don't like it, well, that's your problem, not mine. And almost being able to live in that space. Whereas, there's a lot of people in this world who are very conscious about how they look and how they sound, and will they fit in, and want to be in with the in crew, because they don't feel so secure in themselves that they can stand in another group that's not with the in crew, and all these kind of things. It's just so important to celebrate difference and accept that we are all different,
Mm,
whether you are neurotypical or neurodiverse. Within that, we are all different, and let's celebrate that. I think it's so important, and people need to start respecting that as well,
mm,
that we're not all gonna, walk the street in the same way, dressed in the same clothes, hair all of the same. God, that would be so boring, wouldn't it? If that happened, can you imagine? You know,
I think I've definitely written a poem about that. One of my about just the boring, mundane. You know, the city colours sometimes can be so grey and black and bland and just
yeah.
dusty, and then you might see someone who's dared to wear a sort of red suit or a green, something green, and it's just this splash of colour and character amongst all of the blandness that you can sometimes get on the commute.
Oh,
um,
absolutely. And I
and if
and
there
I
was more colour, it would be fabulous.
And I love
Definitely.
red. I'm always in my red,
Mm.
there's always a pop of red somewhere. It's just a color I absolutely love. But yeah, we need to kind of step away from mundane and go into interesting and, colors and the kind of the energy of life, which if you take the opportunity to just stop for a moment and look around, leaves are not all green. It's as simple as that. And I'm just saying that as I'm looking out the window and I've got two massive oak trees in my
Ah.
driveway. And God, can you imagine if all leaves were just green?
Mm.
Difference should be celebrated at all times. So tell me, Elizabeth, do your family, do you guys do any journaling?
I've journaled for years. Um, yeah, since I was a child. Just sometimes it was, yeah, getting out my secret thoughts. Um, Maybe writing a song or a poem. I grew up within a Christian family, and so we would all be lots and lots of people at church would make notes. So then I started getting in the habit of making notes because it would actually help me not get too distracted, or stop myself from being bored during the moments when I was bored. So there's there is definitely a I journal, my brother journals a little bit occasionally. My mum definitely journals and my dad journals, but more to do with the faith side of things. But I'm sure there's a blend of just life mixed in with it all. Um, my sister, I've encouraged, so sister who is not the adopted one, just another of my sisters, she has always struggled with perfectionism. And I've given her some journals over the years. And she then admits to me sometimes, we've talked about it a bit as well. She admits to me that the fear of perfection and not getting it right down on paper in a way that reads back and she can feel proud of and pleased of worries her. So then she stops writing. Um, so we talked about like it's serving us, the journal and the notebook. It's there to serve us and to meet our needs. We're not meeting the journal's needs. We're using it in a way that makes us feel better and gives us the outlet that we might want or benefit from in the moment. Because that's how I sort of started letting go a bit more, and also getting a mix of different journals, some of them with blank paper pages, some with lines, some with dots, because then I can kind of, and with prompts and so on. But I think sometimes we've just got to be prepared to adapt or adjust our relationship with the journal almost,
Yeah,
so that
true.
we can explore it and give ourselves rules that are helpful for us if we want to give ourselves rules as well, because sometimes just writing with no rules can be very liberating too.
Yeah, no, and when I had my worked with my focus group to create the journals that I've released, it was quite interesting. How was it boxes with lines, or was it boxes with no lines? And could they write only, or could they write and draw, or could they write, draw, and doodle? And we had all these conversations. And if I just show you, and it ended up being like this. So you've got
Mm.
a question. So, for
Hold it up a little
example,
bit further.
what happened
Yeah.
today? And then you've got a box, and you can choose to write, doodle, color, draw pictures. And it kind of takes you through. So, storytelling is one of the skills that I teach with my public speaking, but almost like getting, somebody into that habit. What happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? How did it happen? What part of it was due to my actions? How did it make me feel? So the emotional part, and
Mm.
then what can I do about it? So the important thing is very much about, you know, getting people to let go, accept, let go. And then there's the kind of the emotional side of it, which is happy, sad, angry, frustrated, whatever whichever of those that it is. And then the other thing that the focus group, and I keep hearing that a lot of people do this anyway, is if I can find the page, it is the mandala.
Oh.
So it's the mandala. So
Mm.
again, color in, doodle, write tiny, and everywhere through the journal there is the different quotes. So this one is um, today I will be my best self.
Mm.
That way, today I'll be my best self. So there's, but it was quite interesting working with the focus group who said, again, some adults or children may not want to fill in all the boxes, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm
Some
I'm thinking that right now. I'm like, on one day, all I might want to just refer to is what happened or how I'm feeling now. But then I feel like I'd want to put a cross through all the other boxes or write not applicable.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just like, because I need that visual permission almost sometimes to be like, nope, not
Yeah,
applicable, not applicable, not applicable. This one I'm going to do.
and in the how to use the journal section, right at the beginning, that was
Mm,
one of the things that came out of our focus group. That it says, it's welcome to your new journal, and then in the how to use the journal, it's for you to use in a way that works for you, um, and you do not need to fill in all the sections every day.
yeah.
You can choose how much you want to complete based on what's happened that day. So it's very much down to not applicable, cross, scribble it out,
Yeah.
whatever you want. It's kind of your space, but it also, if you are in that moment on that day where you want to fill it in a storytelling fashion, bringing you to a conclusion, you have that option as well. Um,
Mm,
and then what something else that I've learned. This has been a huge learning time for me as well. Is around the colours that people use. So where some people will say red is because they're angry, I'll pick up a red pen or a red colouring felt pen or something because I like red. So on the one hand, somebody will go, "Oh, she's angry," and I'll be like, "No, it's just I like red." And so
yeah.
it'll be, different things for different people. They talk
Mm,
about the red, amber, green, and if it's green, it means Elizabeth's happy, but it could be just that Elizabeth wants to use green because she's drawing in the grass. And I think it's quite interesting how sometimes we get so stooped into, you know,
color psychology. Yeah.
yeah, or how
and
big
and
your
forget
letters
that
are.
people can just make a random choice and go, "Oh, yeah, that speaks to me today. It looks a bit bright and happy, and that's how I want to feel, or that's how I do
Yeah.
feel." Yeah, or simply just a favorite color. Like my sister, um, 11-year-old sister, she her favorite colors are Michael Jackson colors. So she loves Michael Jackson, and she dresses like as close to him as possible every day. Um, so she'll wear black trousers, white top. She's got different military sort of jackets and wears sort of smart school shoes every single day. Even if she's going running, she'll wear her school shoes because it's sort of like shiny, shiny black.
But I want to know, can she do the moonwalk?
I don't think she can. I don't think she can, but she just likes the songs and she plays piano as well. So she'll play the songs and in the shower it'll be blaring out.
Love it. Do you know what?
It
She's
is.
made her
I
she's
know.
made her choice, isn't it, of
Yeah.
what she likes to hear, and good on her if that's what she wants to do and
Mm,
that makes her happy,
it
and if for
does.
somebody else it doesn't make them happy, then what we've always said, their problem, not your sister's.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer of that, and trust me when I say it often gets me in trouble as well. But hey ho, that's just part of life. I do
Mm,
wonder if I put on this earth just to cause some
Cause a
disruption.
stir.
Yeah, bit of disruption, break down some barriers, face those challenges, and all that kind of thing. But I've got some interesting questions for you, Elizabeth. So, what is your favorite animal and why?
Mm, I don't I don't know if I have a favorite one because I'm a bit of a I really do love all animals. If I'm thinking back about my yeah, they're interesting questions, but so last night we were watching a bit of a nature program, and I do love watching the lions, but I just love animals that
Oh,
are loving but also powerful. Um,
ah, yeah.
so I think, yeah, I like powerful animals with a soft side.
So it's like a coconut that's hard on the outside but soft inside, right?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm a bit of a tricky one to say what my favorite things are because I've ended up falling in love with everything and I can't quite choose. I'm like, I don't want to single something out. They're all
Oh,
adorable. They're all
and,
wonderful.
and it's fine until one bites your head off, and then you'll be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, I don't like that animal anymore."
exactly. Yeah. And then, well, even then I'd be like, it's right. It's its natural instinct to do that. So
Oh, bless.
I should have just stayed out of its way.
Oh, I'll remember that one. If you could
Mm.
change one thing in the world to make it a better place, what would that be? Just one.
Off the top of my head, I'm just going to say that everyone is born with an, an altruistic urge that they cannot ignore.
Hmm. I like that. No, I like that. I feel like, Star Trek just landed and it's about to beam me up, Scotty, and go, right, I need to investigate this some more. But no, I like that. It's been
As-
very different from all the others. Uh, but I think, yeah, if that was the case, then people would genuinely follow what they want and need to follow as opposed
Mm.
to the expectation of society and the world.
And I think, and to have that with the underpinned with loving, sh- s- doing something loving for someone else or
Mm,
something else, the knock-on effect, I think, would be very good for the world.
I
So,
agree. I agree. And I just want to add to that because I think it just popped out and it said, um, and loving and just being kind, truly kind would make such a difference to this world. I feel
mm,
there's like a large percentage of people who don't know what the word kind means, and they're always judgmental and criticizing and, almost bringing everything down instead of helping to lift things up. So being, kind, supportive, loving, caring.
mm. That reminds me of this part of what I love to share about, which is the 5 ways to well-being, and that one of them is to give. And I have this sort of grid with different prompts, and a lot of them are to do with sort of be kind, share a smile, share emotional support, you know, just to slow down and notice other people's needs, and give them that little bit of your time to make a difference in their life. It's just, yeah, as you say, if more people did that and took the time to be kind, it would be really wonderful to walk out our door each day, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Instead of staying inside, just in case, just in
Mm.
case. So, final question: who is your favorite superhero and why?
Mm. I'm getting um I'm getting flashes of the series, the adult series of The Boys, which is superheroes gone wild and aggressive at the moment. So that's in my head. I also I like Ant-Man.
Okay.
I don't
Dare I
again
ask why?
Again, I don't have a favorite. I can't. But what I like about Ant-Man is that he can go tiny. He can become tiny, and I think sometimes there's places where it would be so interesting to look at it from a tiny perspective, or to creep through a gap and then be able to access some place that would have been impossible otherwise. So
Yeah.
that can be
It's
quite, I'm a bit of a nosy person, I guess, curious,
Well,
curious
that was
human.
interesting because when you said that, that made me think about the fly on the wall. You know,
Mm.
who's in the rooms that shouldn't be in the rooms that they're in, listening, watching, and then coming up and go, "Guess what I know?" Um, yeah,
All the
no,
microphones that we have nowadays in our rooms, probably listening to all sorts.
yeah, I totally hear you on that one. Oh, Elizabeth, thank you so, so much for taking the time to be with me this afternoon and do this interview with me, because you're the first person who's been on who's a carer. In the sense of looking after your brother, sister, and the journey that you've been through. So, you giving your perspective. And what's really hit me in our interview today is that you've been smiling and you've been laughing, and almost in the face of adversity, it's become your strength to who you are today and, in fact, what you do. So, if people wanted to get hold of you, what's the easiest way to find you?
Thank you. I have a website. So my website's called growintoLife.com. However, I'm also very accessible on Facebook. I have a personal profile, which is Elizabeth Papalia, and feel free to message me on there. Or I have a page, which is Grow Into Life as well. So Grow Into Life. Yeah, not as
Thank
well at the
you.
end.
Thank you. And what I will be doing is, at a later stage, I will be also sharing these interviews across social media. And then with that, I will make sure all the links are there as well so that people can contact you directly. But in the meantime, if any of you do have any questions, you can either go directly to Elizabeth or you can go via me, and I'll make sure that the questions get to Elizabeth. Thank you so, so much. I'm going to retire you into the waiting room. Sounds very
Okay.
posh, doesn't it?
Thank you,
And
Sonal. It's been really good to speak with you, and yeah, just share some stories, and also see a little bit of a preview of your journal. I think it's going to be very useful for many people, and I love that it's for children and for adults as well. That you've thought of both ends of the spectrum there.
you have to, because a child's mind is very different to an adult's mind and what their
Mm.
needs are as well. But thank you so, so much, and stay in the waiting room, and I will be back with you soon.
Okay, see you soon.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for those of you who are watching now, and for those of you who will be watching later. Please don't forget to put hashtag replay. It's been an absolute pleasure here with you this afternoon, having the beautiful Elizabeth with us as well, sharing her story of being a carer, looking after children, as well as what it's been like for her growing up and now in the business that she's in now. And please do watch this video again, as she's got some great tips and hints and a wealth of knowledge and information to share with you as all. If there's anything you'd like to hear about, or anyone who you think we should bring on to the interviews, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. And I look forward to seeing you all at the next interview. Thank you so much.